Good afternoon. Welcome to my talk. I'm sharing some thoughts around my thinking of Europe's potential future, how I see it, like distributed DNA. Yeah, quick on my person, with a lot of content to cover. I will be fairly quick. I'm a solutions architect, I would say. I have a long-term experience in cloud architectures. I'm independent, working for a cooperative. I spent most of my time in public and hybrid clouds, but the past years also in edge computing and also in distributed clouds. And yeah, I share some of my very own opinions of limited views, of course. And I'm very interested in yours. And I would like to start why we first embrace the cloud and what is its future. I had a lot of thoughts in the past about it, especially in the times that we are currently living in. And I found a very interesting information about 1916s, where an MIT professor said like computing could be someday organized as a public utility, so which is like the earliest definition of cloud computing that I found. And I feel that nowadays we are heading into it. Think of public utility, especially during the talk we will get to this. And also sorry to say there's no cloud. It's just someone else's computer. And so today we will focus on the on-site and the EAs, not PaaS, not SaaS, not FaaS. So today is about distributed computing in the context more on the hardware to infrastructure layer. And my first cloud computing experience was in 2008 when I spin up a EC2 instance. I found it very interesting. I think it was fascinating to have fast access, self-service capabilities, pay-as-you-go model, not waiting for something. It was there in minutes. You had global availability. We could build global platforms with very low upfront invest. I'm still very fascinated by the capabilities that we have today. And AWS was the first one. Google followed in 2008 and Microsoft Azure in 2010. And as most of you probably experienced, it was a pretty nice experience and very fascinating. And they came up with more and more features and more services, and we really liked it. And we built all great things there. And in the clouds, multi-region setups were fairly easy. You had access to data centers with programmatic and by just clicking. And I think this was a huge, big thing, and actually it still is. But there were also some problems. So I have also quite some first-hand experience in FinOps. So probably some of you already had like a shocking experience when it comes to cloud cost billing. So not everything was like pay as you go. Is also pay for whatever has been left on the weekend, for example. And but overall, I would say it was pretty amazing. And meanwhile, now we are in 2013. So like Docker was like invented and announced, and something formed up there. The Kubernetes was released in the 1.0 in 2015. And at the same time or shortly after, the CNCF was founded and announced by Google, and the flagship project is still Kubernetes, right? So there was a pretty smart move for the Computing Foundation. The CNCF definition, as some of you know, I want to highlight also a few parts, is develop, build, and deploy workloads in computing environments, public, private, hybrid cloud. I just remember the in, I think it's very important, moving along. And the CNCF landscape grew and grew and grew even more. So many got confused, some even mad. And we learned to love Kubernetes in the clouds. And I think this is also very known that Kubernetes is a platform. And the platforms, the hyperscalers also were not super happy about Kubernetes if you talk to them, because everything started over. So except Google, who brought Kubernetes to the world. But we built great things there now with cloud and Kubernetes, but we also had to start over. But the Kubernetes gives you a certain level of portability. And over the years, hyperscalers' reputation got constantly worse. And fortunately, we don't have time for politics here, because I don't like it at all. And we also had some issues in open source, right? We had reg pulls, or as an example, we had maintainer burnouts to the external secrets operator. So like open source is also a bit at risk. And my thinking is that Europe missed some opportunities to build their own tech. We had US hyperscalers, and everyone liked it and used it, and it was very comfortable. And we accepted it. And Europe also saw that that we missed some opportunities, and the Europe Commission is willing also to help, and this is what personally to me leads to digital sovereignty. And talking about digital sovereignty is is a term that is hard to pronounce and also super hard to write. And what does it actually mean? So there's now the sovereignty framework, so we are getting there to a more clear definition or several definitions like operational sovereignty. It's like evolve a technology independently, or you have technology sovereignty. I encourage you to take a look. I think these are nice definitions. There are also like the Schwarz group added the ninth dimension recently, which is artificial intelligence. And there's also like the WAF++. It's an open source framework for well architected. They have a sovereign cloud pillar, the different perspective on sovereignty. I encourage you to look at this. I also found it very interesting. So what do we do now about digital sovereignty? We should be, my thinking is we should build distributed cloud technologies from Europe for Europe, but for everyone else too. I think it's super stupid to say like, oh, we need to fight against Chinese or US, who gave us a lot of good stuff, and just build something for our own. No, we just embrace open source and invite everyone, hosted maybe in Europe, from Europe. This is my thinking. I see two approaches. The one approach that I see to address this is the EU hyperscalers. So, but let's see, what is a hyperscaler and why did they start? AWS had spare capacity, so they provided it to the end users. Google Cloud has also a lot of data centers, so they could rent to other people, right? Microsoft also back then had Bing and Hotmail and MSN, and that's why they built Azure Cloud. So they had a lot of spare capacity. These are the prerequisites to build a hyperscaler. So, and if you look at European markets, this is a non-exhaustive list. There are some that offer spare capacities for reason. Bigger hosters from the past, or they just needed, or Schwarz Group with Stackit, the biggest retailer in Europe, they have spare capacities, they can rent it out. These are prerequisites for a hyperscaler, right? So there are few challenges with this approach. This is sovereign clouds are way behind. So I would skip this here. So the talents are there in Europe, but spread across Europe, and it's hard to get them into one big tech company. And also we are a continent of small, medium enterprises. My thinking is we are a small, medium enterprise continent, which is quite natural. So we have like 50 countries speaking 24 official languages and way more. So we are very, very diverse continent. And my thinking is that validates another approach, which is like that we should build distributed clouds, which matches our DNA in Europe, built by many for many. And in 2022, the European Commission came up with an important project of common European interests. So the next generation cloud infrastructure and services, where they're looking at multi-provider cloud to edge continuum, built on open source components. So they wanted to give 4.5 billion out for open source development, and actually it went into the Aura initiative to build a cloud edge continuum to work workloads across small single board computers across data centers. So that was the vision, which is not new. Many people ask me, hey, is it something like Gaia X? Kind of. So Gaia X was a lot of, it was expensive paper, I would say. There are only very few deployments happening, came out of this, but it's like, it's a successor, or let's say the continuation of it, yeah? And 1 or 2 billion were given to 7 member states, and this led to 107 open source projects with 3 years of funding that you can find on the Aura website, but actually were 118, where 13 went to a new foundation instead of Aura, which is the NeoNetworks Foundation. And there's a steady growing number of EU members. And there's a claim is like we make cloud native sovereign, and how does it compare to the sovereign cloud stack? I would say cloud and edge stacks is the goal, so that other organizations can assemble end-to-end platforms without vendor lock-in and make independent platforms work together. So this is like really the goals of the NeoNetworks. So OpenStack is not a fit for everything here, but Kubernetes is. So, and NeoNetworks is pretty much, on the Kubernetes side. And also people ask a lot, like, wait, another foundation, why not CNCF? First of all, the co-financing, the participating member states must be within Europe, and also the private companies. And the other one, so think of public money, public code. And this is, I think, a nice picture that illustrates that the same route, like Linux Foundation Europe, NeoNetworks is there. And the IPSA sys and the Aura is there at the same level. But I will come to this. There's also reference architecture that has been built as part of the IPSA sys to show you the whole scope. Oh, time's out. Okay, and I want to highlight the platform mesh. Which is a very interesting project. I would encourage you to look. I think the idea is really, really nice. So if you think of super clouds and meta clouds, so as we can see, the NeoNetForce is pretty aligned with the IPSI goals and shares some common ground. And my thinking is that I think this is very important. So NeoNetForce is not competing with the CNCF, but rather complementing it to a full cloud stack. If you think about it, it's more for the provider space, where CNCF, and we will see like many stacks that will be built with in Europe in the future. This is also my personal belief, with parts of NeoNetForce, which is more on the provider side, plus CNCF components. Nothing wrong about it. And NeoNetForce at the very beginning, and I can urge you to get involved and take a look there, because you can now also be part of building a foundation from the early days. And of course, there are other initiatives like Zeka, which is also a Kubernetes API, which has been founded by Jonas Dynamo Aruba. And this is also something that you should check out, because I think it's also interesting. Maybe people can also work together. Maybe, I don't know, that would be nice. So Zeka is coming from the Eurostack. Eurostack is like a full stack view also on the European view, so the preventing the continent from becoming a digital colony. And there are even more. IPSA AI is around the corner around AI. CIC is more from the hardware part, like chips and interoperability of hardware. And there's a lot of overlap, but they have something in common, which is open source. And I think this is pretty nice. And as we can see, Europe is heavily investing in open source, and I think this is really, really good. And but open source is only what the people investing into it, and we need the community and we need you. So just think of, and where should you go? I cannot tell you, because you need to find out and take a look. You can also ask me. I can give you advice on your personal node, where you work, what you do, what you need. But I think it's not super important where you go, but that you go. Yeah. So think of it, takes a chance. You also gives out money. I can also explain you how to get this money for your company, how to contribute. So I encourage you to think about it. I think it's a fantastic chance. And to wrap, we can be excited. The EU is helping and needs our help. And so this is like distributed by DNA, initiated from Europe, built together, built by you, but very important. I think it's for everyone. And another thing to remember, clouds like open source has no borders, not within Europe and not within the world. Okay, thank you for listening. Sorry for the... I guess we have no time for questions, but I'm here. I'm here, of course. It's just like... Yeah. Okay. Ich höre schnell. Okay.